made $40 million. What did you do with the money?
If someone came to me and they were like, say an 18-year-old kid wanted to get into business but didn't have the money yet, and they said, Dylan, like, what should I do? I would say,
what if someone was like, building a brand isn't for me? Like, is there another way someone can do it without having to create a social media following?
we launched the business. Within 3 months, we had done $1 million. By the end of that year, we'd done $10 million. I remember I got a new Audi, he got a new Mustang.
Dude, that's
Like,
crazy.
This is how you pick the perfect e-commerce product, okay?
All right, tell us.
Give us the rundown.
All right, guys. So yes, we are back. Welcome back. We have an amazing guest today. Actually, not just a guest, an amazing one. So today's guest, guys, is one of Australia's most successful e-commerce millionaires.
Let's go.
He is a university dropout that's made over $40 million in just 5 years.
That's some coins.
Over
$40 million.
$40 million, bro. This man has proven that he's not only quick in the bedroom, but he's also been quick to success in business by making over $10 million in his first year.
How do you know? How do you know?
How do you know that?
We'll keep it to ourselves, yeah?
Word on the street, eh?
Word on the street. Without further ado, please welcome Dylan Mullan.
Let's go.
Okay. First of all, when did you speak to Mel? Wait, when are you getting this info, huh?
Oh, I was doing a couple of cheeky ones last night on the computer with her. I was like, Mel, give me some inside scoop about Dylan.
We're very thorough with our research.
Trying to do my best Jamie Zhu impression. So
Exactly.
Good clapback. I like
Hey,
that.
it's been 2.5 years for me, so what do I know, right?
I'm sure it'll be pretty quick after that.
Hey, it'll be so
Break
few
some
seconds, he's
all-time
done.
records, right?
Don't ask.
Nah, this is going to be a good one, bro. I'm obviously like really invested in learning for e-commerce, digital marketing. We'll go into some tricks and tips, give people the playbook, give people sort of the rundown. And you've obviously been very successful. So this is going to be a really, really cool chat. I'm excited for this one, bro.
Yeah, keen.
I guess a few of the key things that we're going to break down is sort of like, what separated you?
We
already got one testy pop.
Bayley
Oh,
testy
ding,
pop.
ding, ding,
We have a
first
Bayley
testy
testy
pop.
pop counter
What
every
was
single
that, like
episode.
a minute and a half?
we have a
No more.
imaginary bell.
I'm so happy.
Nick, can you like make that sound even worse in the edit? Like, I really want to make that clear.
Exactly.
What separated you? Because obviously thousands of people all around the world try e-commerce every day, right? So we'll break down like what separated you being successful, making 40 mil, to the thousands of people who flop. And we'll also break down like sort of tips and tricks that like will help people scale super fast. So for example, if I'm an 18-year-old and I want to make heaps of money in e-commerce, what's the steps? What are the inside scoop? What do people need to focus on?
I want to get to the juice. I want to find out, what did you do with the 40 million? Like, did you
What do
go
you do
and
with that?
straight away buy your first car, like a Lamborghini?
Lambo,
Did you go
house.
blow it on girls? Did you buy houses? Did you reinvest that money into your next business? Did you just blow it all?
But before we get into that, I know you're excited, Chris, but Dylan, I
usual.
want to take things right back because I want the viewers to know exactly who you are, where you've come from. You said you grew up in Western Sydney. Give us a bit of a rundown about, where you came from and your background.
And guys, before we continue, we want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, Getaways.
The boys and I are blessed to be partnering up with Getaways, who have some of the most amazing short-term accommodation in the country.
Whatever the occasion, whether it's a cheeky boys trip away or you want to surprise your partner with a holiday, Getaways has got you covered.
Make sure you guys go ahead and check out Getaways on their website or on their social media platforms. We'll be leaving the link in the description below. And without further ado, let's jump straight back into the episode.
Yeah, so I'm a Western Sydney kid, loud and proud. Like, I've always stuck to that. People, I grew up in like Preston's, which is like Liverpool area for people that don't know.
Livo-cars.
So if
AKs
people are
a lot.
listening and they think, does this guy have some like European twang to him? No, it's just the little bit of my Western Sydney accent.
Yeah, that's mad.
So I grew up in Preston's. I pretty much lived there my whole life until moving into the city after, all that success and where I spent some of my money, which we'll get into later. And then like in terms of like why I was so successful, and we'll get into it. The biggest thing, it's like, everyone wants these like e-com hacks and tricks, and we can get into some things like to watch out for, or to look out for in a product, or like how to aggressively scale.
sure.
But the big thing that like differentiated me, and it's like, was my mindset. And it's like I'm just a magnet for anything I want to do, anything I want to attract and see and believe. I just feel like I'm blessed. Like I feel like I'm connected to the higher power, whatever that is, the universe, the energies, the Lords. I feel like I'm really tapped into that.
Yeah,
and I've been able to use that to my power. I really do believe that. So whether it's like prayer, whatever you guys will say, or like visualization for me, like that stuff, like you talk about like how many times you guys have prayed for something so clearly and then they manifest in your life. I've had so many experiences like that, and whether it's, you know, God or whoever looking out for me, or it's me tapping into the energetics of the universe, that was my secret power, bro.
I want to just jump a little bit back. So I know that you were actually studying law.
Yeah.
Right? You were studying law because my girlfriend this week, she actually just finished all her
Congrats,
final
Hannah.
exams.
Congratulations.
For law. So she's going to be a junior
She would have
lawyer.
suffered for that, man.
She would have
She
suffered.
would have suffered for that.
And I know how
Bit of a
hard it
shit
is.
degree, yeah?
I've seen how hard she works and studies, and
Yeah.
it's a lot. I wanted to know, obviously, you know, you dropped out. Why did you drop out? And did you dropping out, was that a, you know, you had your entrepreneurial mindset and you're like, I know what I need to do, law's not for me? Or did it just kind of happen and you were lost? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, I tell you this, like a lot of people, you interview people on podcasts. Obviously, I've got a podcast. A lot of times I ask people, you know, when did you know you wanted to be an entrepreneur or have your own businesses? A lot of people bullshit, be like, you know, oh, I had a lemonade stand when I was 6 years old. Or I never thought I was going to be in business. Like,
What did you want to be?
I wanted to be a lawyer.
Right.
Obviously.
Wanted to be a lawyer because, like, a kid from the area, when I used to think about if
Successful. It's a
successful,
great job.
that was me dreaming the highest
And
I
it's
could dream.
secure. It's a secure, well-paying job that's respected.
And it, like, to be honest, bro, like I thought it was cool. You know, you wear a suit every day, you go to court, you argue with people. Like I had no idea what was actually involved in the job, but that was the sort of way.
It's a little bit more than that, but
it's a little bit more than that, right? Which I soon found out.
Yeah.
But for me, it wasn't anything entrepreneurial. It's just I have this thing, and I call it a knowing. Like I have this gift. Like one of my biggest.
Is it your gut?
Man, my gut. So one of my biggest skills, and I don't know where you guys think of, like, I don't know if you heard of human design or any of that sort of stuff, but one of my biggest things on human design, which I don't really know much about, but Mel is like really into, and one of the things that served me most is like my knowing. Like I get a feeling and I don't need to overanalyze it. I'm not an
like a
overthinker.
gut feeling, intuition.
I feel what's right and I get that given to me and I just know, right?
So
I just know.
one day you just knew law's not for me.
So how it worked, I was always top of my class, like if not top, second or third max. Like I was like nearly every single subject.
Oh, that's cool.
Nearly every single,
Very
but like,
academic.
Wish I was you.
but like at a public school. So it's like if I was at like a, you know,
What
like
school did you go to?
Don't
Still
discount
high.
yourself, bro.
Still high.
Public schools go hard now.
for context, like if you asked any of my teachers, like who's the one person like in year 12 guaranteed to finish uni, they would all fucking said me. But no,
Really?
like I always thought I was going to be like a uni kid. I always thought I was going to do law, and I got there. First week, you know, they break into groups, went down to Wollongong Uni and it was all fun. And then second week, you start getting into the work. It was as soon as the second week that I realized, like I was driving from Preston's down to Wollongong Uni, about an hour drive each way. So it's like we'd have like 8 hours of class. I'd have to start at 8:30. So I'm leaving at like 7:15, waking up at like 6:30, doing all that work all day, coming home. By the time I finish at 5, I get home at like 6:15. I've got to fucking read like 70 pages of the most dull material ever.
So much content.
And like I found out only last year I have ADHD. So it's like if something isn't interesting to me, it's like the most
same.
painful chore for me to ever do.
Right.
And really quickly, I just knew I wasn't happy. Like I was the type of kid, like any assignment, any like exam, I'd only start studying or start the assignment the night before. In school, you can get away with it. You start at 4 o'clock, you finish at 10.
Yeah.
Uni, you do that for law. You start at like 4 or 5 o'clock.
Can't do it for
You
law.
do an all-nighter. You don't sleep. You finish at 6 a.m. You drive down. Try not crash your car literally on the M1 or Mount Uzi on the way down there. Hand it in, come back. I was just fucking hating it so much.
And if you don't pass, you pay for another. You got to just keep paying.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I was still getting credits and stuff for my assessments, but it came up to the point where it's like exam period at the end of the first semester or whatever. And I just thought to myself, like, I had never experienced any depression or mental health problems at all. And I just really like felt myself starting to slip into like, I didn't know what it was, some sort of like depression or like just feeling lost and like, bro, what do I do? For so long, for so many years, I wanted to do that.
Yeah.
Got down there and I hated it. So I dropped out. I deferred. I was doing a double degree of law and commerce. I was going to go back to second year and just do the commerce side of the degree. But in that time, like I was so disenfranchised from uni. It's just so not what I expected. I just didn't feel like going back to that control piece, didn't have enough control. And I'm a big advocate of like, we get one life in this form. Like, everything you want to do, like you got one shot to make it happen. So do you want to go through life and just like let life happen to you and go with the flow of things and get pushed around here, pushed around there? Or do you want to decide what you want, believe that you can 100% make it happen and put a plan in place to do it? And if you do those things and you have self-belief and you can, visualize that, you're doing these things, I'm a massive believer it'll 100% happen for you.
Was there like a turning point where you were doing the law and then you were like, you know what, like I got to switch?
Oh, bro, I reckon like within the first month I knew I probably wasn't going to last.
Yeah.
Because I'd never...
know.
I just knew I wasn't happy, and I'd never been unhappy like that ever before in my life.
But this just goes like we're always, we're showing the people that are watching at home. It's fine to try different
part of
things.
the journey.
And even if you think there could be success, it might not be for you. And so that means just try things, fail, and then eventually you'll find what's your calling.
It's all me figuring out what's the right
go.
path for me, but it's just always me like aiming as high as I can. And in that moment,
100%.
what do I think is going to excite me and fulfill me and give me the best sort of lifestyle? And then obviously, came across to business. And then after finding business and like obviously E-Comm, the way I found that I was doing like in that job in Chatswood, I'd never heard of E-Comm. I never knew anything like Alibaba. I never knew about private label, never knew about drop shipping, none of that stuff. This would have been 2016, 2017, met a guy who was selling like ties and pocket squares and socks, like little men's accessories. And he used to come in with like his little box and like sell it to people in the office. I'm like, dude, what's that? He's like, oh, I've got an E-Comm brand.
You're like, what's that?
Yeah, I'm literally like, what's an E-Comm brand? He's like, oh, you find a manufacturer, like you can put your logo on it, like you buy, 100 and for this price, and then you build a website, you run Facebook ads, or you work with influencers and you sell products to people that way. And it blew my mind. Like as I said, like I used to think being in business was you're in a cafe or you're a tradie or like you're in a gym. I didn't realize about E-Comm. I didn't realize about consulting. Didn't realize about all these possibilities in life
So this
because
was your first
time.
Because it wasn't mainstream back then.
It wasn't
No one
mainstream.
was doing it.
Just remind us of the year this was all in.
So when I met him, this would have been probably late 2016, early 2017.
Wow, the OG days.
The OG days. And then like you hear stories like High Smile, two guys from Gold Coast, two boys in the beauty space come up with a product and, they're doing like probably like $60, $70 million a year.
And they didn't reinvent the wheel. Like a lot of the time, and I'm sure you attest to this, you don't have to think of like a whole new product or something.
Yeah, you're not
they
starting
just
Tesla.
found something that works and they went 100% in it. And similar to you, laser, it's been around for a long time. Hair removal, beauty, it's been around, but you just found the way to make it accessible and you made it look good, you marketed it and killed it.
Yeah, so like to that point, like we saw like some success stories like High Smile, like Bondi Sands, and it just happens to be like Bondi Sands was like 2 or 3 guys selling obviously a primarily female used product in the beauty space, fake tan. Used to be done in like, I'm sure you've all seen the old videos of girls going over to their beautician's house. They set up the little tent thing and they spray them and stuff.
Yeah,
and then
Jamie
like,
used to get that done.
Yeah, Jamie.
Jamie used to always
That's why I'm so tanned.
Isn't that why you were running late this morning?
Yeah.
And like same sort of concept, teeth whitening used to be done in a dentist chair. Someone come out with a product and they didn't invent the technology. They found someone manufacturing it. They might have changed a couple little things. They branded it and they sold it. Like people think we invented at-home IPL hair removal. We didn't. No. They actually existed on the bottom shelf of a shaver shop floor. Philips had them, Braun had them as one of their like 100 electronic products they sell, but they never put any advertising behind it. They didn't do a push behind it. They just had it there. So we knew we wanted to be in beauty, and it comes to like the most important part of any e-com brand is the product selection and the product research phase.
Were you personally interested in beauty yourself?
Not at all.
It's the market. Not
at all. It's the market.
Just the market.
So how did it come? Like, why did you choose
How
beauty?
did that idea just
why did you
manifest?
choose beauty? I know it's a, billion-dollar, if not trillion-dollar industry, but why beauty?
Yeah.
The main reason, and it's like there's different reasons for choosing a specific industry. Like this was our first business. We were kids from the area. We didn't have a lot of money. We wanted to pick a business that we knew we could have a lot of financial success in. So that was a big motivator, right? If you're working a job you hate or something you're not fulfilled by, right, and you want to start, say you're a guy and you're not interested in beauty, and you want to start a beauty product and a beauty brand, people might think, oh, are you going to enjoy that? Like, you're not really going to use the product. But it's like, dude, when you're building your own business and you're changing your life, that in of itself is enough. 100%. Like, it's so much fun. It's enough motivation for you to go and see it out. So,
was there a few products that you were tossing up between, or was it just that one?
Yeah.
No. So beforehand, and you'll laugh about this. Me and George, we're sitting around thinking, what can we do, man? We wanted to get on like a trend before it emerged, and we did like a wireframe for like a vegan dating app and shit.
Vegan dating app.
Oh wow! So there was a vegan dating app. There was
just that. So there was a vegan dating app.
Vegan dating app.
George, I think, was veggie at the time. I'm not sure if he or maybe he was
was a
vegan.
Are you vegan or
Trend.
veggie?
I wasn't. No,
Bro,
I was
that's
eating.
a
I was
big
eating meat, and he's like, "Dude, if like this goes well, and like, are
It
you
was huge.
It was
I
big at the
forget
time.
Game
Wow.
Changers, the movie.
yeah,
came, the TV show.
Or that was a few years later. That's when I
Okay.
started being veggie.
Vegan dating app.
But it's like, vegans wanted to date other vegans.
Yeah,
it was
of
like,
course.
so like,
Yeah.
thank God we didn't.
mad.
Thank God we didn't do that. It would have been such a waste of time and
So
like
you
a
didn't
weird-
actually execute, but it was like an idea.
It was an idea. We looked into it and considered it for a few weeks.
What made you stop that idea?
We just thought like building an app for anyone for their first business. It's not the right
Right.
decision. It costs so much
Wow.
money. There's so
Money.
much can go wrong.
Vegan
I've seen
dating
that
app.
go wrong so many times.
Even the apps that are killing it and are worth like tens of millions, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars, they're not even profitable for like ages. They're backed
Yeah.
by VCs and their business is built on data.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They call
So
it
it's
the
like-
J curve. So the J curve is like you're going under for ages before
Yeah,
you make
yeah.
profit because you're just going down
You're,
first.
you're
you need
building
so much
value
equity.
for the business, but for two kids, we didn't have investors, didn't have any experience. We wouldn't have
Yeah.
been able to raise capital
People
anyway.
that don't know, what's a J curve, Mr. Tech Guy?
So that basically, if you think of the J, right? Like this is all apps tech with that have massive upfront investment. So you lose a lot of money on the front end building the app, building the technology.
And then
developers
slowly-
are very
So loads of
expensive,
capital required.
and it's also low unit costs. So you're only really making money once you have a couple thousand users, but once it gets momentum, skyrocket.
And then if the app is a free app, then how do they make money?
There's most of them.
Advertising.
The free side's usually just to bring them in the door, to customer attraction. Then they monetize it off the back end. Usually,
Right.
So
Or
from-
like a good rule is if the app's free or something uses free, you are the product. So they're
Yeah.
selling your data
Yeah.
or they're
Gotcha.
selling ads to
Correct.
you.
Yep.
That's the
Correct.
only way those things work. Yeah, or they
100%.
use it like lead gen as well. They get you on a free trial,
course,
or
yeah,
they
of course.
convert you that way.
So,
Yeah.
so vegan dating app. How did we go from vegan dating app to IPO hair removal?
we probably just realized it was a stupid idea, to be honest with you.
How long were you on this idea for?
It wouldn't be more than 3 or 4 weeks, to be honest.
Okay.
But there was like 2-3 meetings a week about it. Like,
Did you have some mock-up templates or like?
we
some-
drew it out, like how it would look and how we'd acquire
Do
customers.
you have them on you still?
Oh no! I wish
I
I
wanted
did
to
just for a
overlay it. That'd be
laugh. I
cool.
wish we did just for a laugh. But then like, because I didn't even know about like what Alibaba or AliExpress is, and for like, I assume most people know what they are now. I'll explain it to people listening for if they don't, because we had no idea. So Alibaba is like it's a website with manufacturers mainly from Asia, mainly from China. They all go on and list their products that they can produce. Now you can get really good prices, but you have to order 100 units or 50 units or 500 units or 5,000 in order to get that. So Alibaba, it's a marketplace for manufacturers of all different products, mainly for manufacturers from China. So they list their products. You speak to them, hey, I'm interested in this. What's the price if I want 100 and I want to customize the packaging and customize the product with my logo? You negotiate that way. AliExpress is for drop shipping. So the way drop shipping works, similar sort of range of products, but you don't actually send all the stock to you, to your house or to your warehouse to ship to customers. Can't really customize too much. Sometimes you're able to customize some packaging and they will hold it there for you. But how drop shipping works, you put up a website.
Yeah. So I was gonna say less initial capital.
Less initial capital, but the unit economics, you make less profit on each because
Yeah.
you're only buying one product at a time off the manufacturer.
Yeah.
So they don't give you as great prices. But so you set up a website, say it's for, those pants you're wearing, right? I buy it off the manufacturer for $12. You're selling them for $50. You run an ad, someone buys it for $20. So you've got $12 in product costs plus $20 in advertising costs. You've just made like $18 profit on that
You're
unit.
just acting as a middleman. Basically.
You're just acting as a middleman. They ship it from their warehouses. The problem with most of these, it can take up to a month for shipping. So it's bad experiences. There's some good drop shipping models upcoming now where you can kind of ship in 7 to 10 days. Sometimes they promise 3 to
the
5
time-
days.
the time is
Very
an issue,
unrealistic.
right? The
It's
delivery
it's
time?
an issue. And where it gets in trouble on Facebook, which is the primary like advertising channel that people use for e-com, obviously there's like organic content and influencers and stuff. But for drop shipping, primarily Facebook ads, you get what's called a Facebook feedback score. So anyone that purchases, not anyone, but a percentage of your customers, anyone that purchases from Facebook, they will get a feedback survey from Facebook a week later, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later. And they ask you all these questions. And if it'll give you a score out of 5. And if your score goes under like a 3 for a period of time and then goes to a 2 for long enough, your account's going to get banned.
Wow.
Once you get your account banned on Facebook, this is the thing with dropshippers, they're always trying to find new hacks and they're breaching Meta's terms of service. You get banned once, you're not meant to create more and more. You're banned from the platform.
Yeah.
So that's what happens with dropshippers all the time. They'll get an ad account banned because, too many negative complaints from customers, either from quality or their
There you
products
go,
didn't
guys.
come
You
or...
can't be
Meta
dodgy.
actually introduced that because of the drop shipping revolution, because there was thousands of people selling products and then not fulfilling them, or like doing
100%.
all these crazy things, and people getting
100%.
scammed. So Meta had to do that to protect themselves.
Yeah,
so it's actually a good
100%.
thing.
It's a great thing.
Yeah.
If you're at home thinking about dropshipping, that's something to think about, guys.
Yeah.
Making sure that you keep your satisfaction score high. Otherwise, you're gonna get banned.
And if customers aren't happy, you're not going to build a business anyway. A bit
Yeah,
further in.
but there's another way you can do that as well, and this is what the brands that I mentor with E-Comm. There's other ways to do it as well. Like it's great if you can do this and attach it to a drop shipping store, because then if people convert, like if people are interested, they click through and convert. Like you can make money off that test. You know what I mean? It's great. It's not long term, but it's great. So what you can do now, and this is great for people that don't have much budget. So in terms of what I mentioned before, like picking a product is the most important part of any e-com brand, because without the wrong product, regardless of how good you are at marketing, you're never really going to have any sort of long-term
Just trying to use
success, right?
psychological manipulation.
How do you find the right product?
Yeah, so there's a few different stages to like product research for me. So like there's the first one is like the winning product criteria. So like knowing what to look for in a product. So essentially breaking it down, the main things you want to look for in a product if you're looking to get into e-com. And there's a few sort of sub points to these, but like at a high level, one, like is there demand for the product? Like can you look at things like Google Trends? Can you look at like Google search volumes? Are there any competitors that have recently started in the last 3 to 6 months in this space? Like is there a demand for the product? Number one. If you go on Google Trends or you look at the search volumes and it's like this completely random niche thing that only you know about and might be, on trend, in 5 years, it's going to be too difficult. You want to be early in a product, but you don't want to be pushing it uphill from the start.
So
right?
say for example that, I had something that I wanted to sell, say like it's a drink bottle, and I was on step number 1, trying to find out if the product was already successful in, the market already. You said, like, what's the exact like website that you would go to first? And is it Google Trends or are there different websites?
Mainly so.
How would you
Google
check the
Trends
numbers as well? How would you practically apply that?
Yeah, so like Google Trends is a great place to start, or going like Google is the best place to use.
So
for
go to
this.
google.com.
Yeah, so you can go to Google Trends. There's other things like Ask the Public, see what questions people are asking, use those sorts of platforms. And what you want to do is you want to establish, like for Google Trends, ideally you want it above a 50. So you look at some
50, what does
products.
that mean?
It's like a score out of 100, like how much interest there is in a
So
product.
Google Trends will show you the scale.
It'll give it a number. So there's usually like products will go up like this, up and down if it's kind of like a seasonal thing, or it'll be like something that was really low and it's just boom and started to peak.
So you're looking for a 50 out of 100.
50 and above. In terms of like search volume, like if you can like across your 3 to 5 main keywords, if there's at least 10,000 monthly searches of that's
10,000
decent. It's a little bit of
monthly
something
searches.
to work with. Now, if you're inventing a brand new product right from scratch and there's no search volume, that doesn't mean don't do it if it's like this revolutionary thing that it's going to change the game straight away. Sure. But like most people getting into e-com, they're not inventors, right?
No.
They're kind of like marketers and they got this dream.
Yeah.
So it's like you want to prove that there is some sort of demand. Two, like on the flip side of that, you want to make sure it's not already saturated. So some key signs that a product is already saturated. If you look at the main competitors, for example, look at like IPL, like at home IPL, like Happy Skin Co. If the main competitors have been around for like over 2 or 3 years, you've probably missed the boat on that. Another really good way to think, how do I know is this product like oversaturated already? Obviously for one, how long the main competitors have been in, how many competitors that you can easily find. But two, if you can go into Big W, if you can go into Kmart, if you can go into Woolworths, if you can go into Officeworks, and you can see a version of your product that they've been able to mass produce and sell, by the time it's at those retailers, it's oversaturated. It's too late.
So in terms of the saturation, if I was to say type in, my product and then see there were different suppliers in maybe other countries in the world that had some sort of main, companies that sold the same thing. Does that mean it's off the charts, or how do I know whether to compare saturation on a local level versus a global level?
Well, that's really good. If there's products like performing well in Europe and in the US that isn't in Australia yet, like
you can bring it here.
that's a really good sign, because like
Social proof.
that'll often make its way to Australia
and
at a certain
to
point.
market,
You'll be
right?
one of the first to market. So that's a really good thing as well.
That's sorry to cut you off. That's actually
Yeah.
what I look for as well when I'm creating content, because I look at what America's doing.
They're so
and I'm
far
like-
ahead, right?
And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
no one's done it here now. So if I take the concept that's already been proven to work in America and I bring it here, I'm the first. I haven't really like invented it, but I've just like stolen like an artist or copied like an artist, whatever that term is. So you're saying the same thing applies for e-commerce.
100%. Yeah, 100%. So model what works, right? Particularly, it's like you look at the US, 350 million people. Australia,
Yeah,
25 million
25 mil.
people. Like if you can see something that's working there or working in certain markets in Europe and you can be one of the first to bring it to Australia, you're often going to be successful.
Yeah.
Cool.
So-
So you found the product. Let's say
There's a few
demand
other
for
steps
it.
in that as well. So
Yeah.
I'll so
Sorry.
people really know.
Yeah.
No. So there's those two things, right? Is there a demand for it or is there a growing demand? Is it not oversaturated? Then two, your product needs to do one of these two things if you want to build a brand around it. Does it solve a problem? Right. So like, is it like a tangible thing? Like, is it going to solve a problem? For example, teeth whitening, yellow teeth fixes that. You know, maybe you do like a steamer, you got a wrinkly shirt. Does it solve a problem? Yes, it does. Or is it unique? So for an example I like to use is like lamps. We all have lamps in our house, like probably 3 to 5 lamps
How do
in
you
our
make
house.
a
Like,
lamp unique?
no one needs a lamp. It doesn't solve a problem that not already
that was
done.
my next question.
But then you see like a cute duck light up lamp and it's like, okay, that's unique. It's got personality. It's something completely different. So that can also be a product. So it's either unique or it solves a problem.
Can I
and-
just stop you there real quick?
Yeah.
What about clothing? Because a lot of people go into e-com saying, I'm going to sell some clothing.
Mm-hmm.
What if you want to make a t-shirt that's not really unique at all? It's just like a basic t-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Does the cool logo make it unique or how does that sort of
Because
work?
there's always new clothing brands becoming successful, and there's like how many plain white
it's so-
shirts
it's
with
so-
a logo, but
it's so similar.
a lot of them do well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So clothing, I wouldn't recommend clothing as your first business if you're a beginner, unless you have a big following. So the easiest way to build a brand, like if someone came to me and they were like, say, an 18-year-old kid who like wanted to get into business but didn't have the money yet, and they say, Dylan, like, what should I do? I would say, like, genuinely at the position you're in now, you don't have any money. Like, yeah, sweet. You could, like, you've got your whole business career, your whole life ahead of you. Spend the next 2 to 3 years. Go build a big following in whatever interest around your lifestyle, whether it be specific value or just like a content creator or whatever. Build a big following because it's the easiest way. Like every celebrity, every influencer brand now, they almost always kill it because the easiest thing, if you can drive, like the hardest part of e-com is getting that first wave of hype and success around the brand. Once you've done that, it snowballs and spirals from there. If you have a big following like Jamie, you can launch a product. You're going to sell tens of thousands of dollars probably on your first day anyway. Then you've
back
already got
that
your
up.
customers. Like it's so much easier. So if you have an inbuilt following,
He's got
it's
some case
easier.
studies.
Oh,
Go
no, I
on.
was going to say, yeah, we literally, in my company, we actually built brands for athletes and celebrities and comparing that, people starting up. We had people like big in the US, millions of followers. We could do like 500K overnight on
crazy, right?
like a clothing brand or like a random perfume, like even a meal overnight just from them pushing it organically. No ads.
Organic, yeah.
Like maybe a bit of PR to build the hype. Like that's the power of having people that actually value your opinion and look up to you.
It's the power of personal brand, right? But it's also just the power of like, you often don't realize how much influence you have. Like it's absolutely crazy, like the power of social media and like the power of building community. Like I said, I did the mentoring stuff. I put a story up. I don't hardly advertise like my e-com mentoring program, Viral Brand, but I put a story up the other day. I was talking to you about it. I have like 11,500 followers. So like very small following, right? I reckon I had to apply for a 12-month proper mentorship program, over 30 calls booked from one story.
Yeah, there you go.
It's like crazy.
And that's the power of you.
Exactly.
Bro, I was bringing out a product. I wanted to bring out a product, and I was working on it, and I was really worried that someone would hear it and steal my idea.
Yep.
And I can't remember who
this.
told me, and they told me, mate, if they hear about it or they try to copy you, they're not you. You've built your following. You're leveraging who you are and your brand. Yeah. And no one else can take that from you.
100%.
If you get there and they get there as well, the person that's going to be successful is the person that uses their following and uses their leverage to make it successful, uses their brand. So I think what you said was amazing, that it's the you factor. It's what you bring to the table. It's your following. It's who you are.
And something you learn and you can only gain, I think, from experience and enough time in business. Gary Vee used to talk about this all the time. And when you're an early stage entrepreneur, you hear Gary Vee saying things like this and you're like, oh, no, I don't believe him. I'm going to keep my ideas to myself. The truth is ideas are a dime a dozen. Bro, I could go and tell 10 people the next business I want to do.
They won't do it.
And they won't do it. Or if they do
Or be
it,
honest.
they'll
No one
half-ass it. They'll
executes.
give up 2 months
Exactly.
in. It's like it all comes down to the execution.
Yes. I was about to say the same thing.
It all comes down to the execution.
And on your story, like how you got that many people, I think one of the big things that we're always advocates of is like you have dropped people value, knowledge, you run a podcast.
Consistently
you,
as well,
You
right?
built that connection.
Yeah.
You've shown them that you can deliver knowledge that makes them money. So they already have that belief. You don't need a sales. You don't even need to be as good at sales. You just say, I know. Do you want my knowledge? They're like, I already know you have the knowledge. So
that's the way to do the calls. It's like the way I do the mentoring, like there's a lot of one-on-one time with me. So it's like it's not scalable infinitely because you're buying access. There's a lot of different things, but one of the things I can't scale is you get a monthly one-on-one call with me every month. There's only so many of them I can do with people. So it's like if I have 30 people book calls, I know I can only give 15 slots away.
Yep.
You've booked the call with me. You've seen what I've done with E-Comm. It's not me selling myself. I never have to. If you consistently show up online, about delivering value or just documenting it, you don't have to sell anything. The people are done. The power of that content is like crazy. It's like you launch something and it's just this instant success. So
Awesome.
that was a really cool learning as well, like the power of social media. Even though I've built like millions and millions of dollars and sold so many products online, I just realized like you don't even have to have a massive following to like have a lot of impact with social media if you've been putting out like content consistently around whatever you're interested in.
And I think in your case as well, you're very niche into the e-com game as well.
Yeah.
Obviously you have your podcast and other things, but I think people would definitely follow you for e-com.
For sure.
So you're literally like nurturing and growing that exact target market that you have so that when you launch a product, it's, bang. I think in my case, because I, make content. So it's more difficult for someone like me as a personal brand to know what to sell.
Yeah.
Because you're like, well, what do people actually want
that's
from
what
me?
I was going to say.
What do people actually like see value in paying for something from what I do? It's like, I do a bunch of different things. So, and I know I've had conversations with both of you guys about these sorts of things, and probably shouldn't be mentioning this, but we're working on some stuff in the background together. So
we just said, Jamie, ideas don't matter, brother. It's all good.
exactly. No one's going to steal my idea off this. But what would you say to someone, you mentioned that building a personal brand is probably the easiest way to start off your e-com journey on the right foot. What if someone wasn't to do that? What if someone was like, oh, well, building a brand, whether it's for myself or just an image or like a brand in general isn't for me. Like, is there another way someone can do it without having to create a social media following?
There is, of course. There's so many different ways to do things. Like I've never appeared in one single ad for Happy Skin Co.
Right.
Never done. So you don't have to attach yourself to that. But I think and I have these calls with people all the time.
I think that's a better way to do it, man. To not always have you in it because it doesn't depend on you.
Yeah.
That's true, but then if you're not going to be in it, you're just mainly relying on paid ads. And influencer marketing isn't what it used to be.
Yeah,
you used to send any product to anyone, pretty thick picture, they smile, they pose with it, they're going to sell 5 times what you paid for them. Influencer marketing hasn't been like that for a long time. Yeah, it's about specific curated content around you can give someone a product and give them a couple points to hit, but it has to be completely organic to them. So it's if you're going to do that, you're not really going to get many influencers for a brand new startup brand to post your thing for free. So it's a little bit of an uphill battle getting people to push that. And paid ads, more and more people are advertising on Facebook. It's a little bit more competitive. So
nowhere near as effective as they used to be.
no, it is, but it's
Compared to what it was though.
Compared to what it was, Facebook is still as effective, but as it used to be able to launch a brand, just run Facebook ads, do nothing else, and you can kill it from the start. Now it's Facebook is an amplification tool and allow you to scale. You can definitely start ads up and hit your break even ROAS and then get a little bit profitable in the first couple of weeks and then start to scale it from there slowly. But it's not as easy as it used to be. The easiest way is you want to build some organic success and organic sales first. And then that makes running your Facebook ads so much easier. So
100%.
The way to do it, and I would still say the same thing. Some of the biggest success stories, the brands I work with, one, I'll use an example that I've used many times because it's really, really public. It's been on the podcast, Yui and Danielle. None of them had big followings. They started a brand. Document the journey of you starting the business.
Yes.
Document yourself packing all your orders. Document yourself, screen record. Screen record your phone when you're on Alibaba or you're on PayPal and you're putting that thing. Record your reaction. Oh my God, $10,000 are going to place the order, boom. Oh my God, I can't believe we just did that. That's so insane. And then it's okay, our stock's arriving, guys. Come open this box with us. We can't believe it. We're launching in 1 week. Make sure you've subscribed to our email list. You want it early access 24 hour before it's limited, very limited stock. Get in there before everyone else. Document
so did you
that
tell
journey.
those guys to do that and it's working?
Take them on the
journey.
journey.
Yeah,
Take
absolutely.
them on the journey with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Take them on the journey with you. You're going to have so much success doing that. It doesn't matter. You guys know it takes one video to go viral and it completely changes everything, right? Some other people that have started even clothing brands had one video viral, one of the first videos to make 20 grand off just that one video, and it's completely organic. You know what I mean? So document that journey, show up in that way, build community. That's the best way to do it right now. Paid ads are great, but I think they're more of an amplification tool in 2024. You start, it's like lotto. You're just gambling. It's maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. You can control the narrative a lot more, and you're much likely to be more successful. The one thing I will add before we move on past the products so people know what to look for is the last thing in the box you need to tick is it needs to have good margins. For whatever it costs for you to buy from your manufacturer and ship it to your warehouse or your house, your spare bedroom, whatever. So that's like your costs of goods sold. You want to be able to sell a product. If it costs you $8, to buy it and then $2 to ship it, it's $10. You want to be able to sell your product for at least $40. So 4 times cost of goods sold. Some are like, bro, some would be 8-10 times that. And, people can be like, oh my God, these people are ripping us off. Businesses aren't like, it's not like every business is out here running at 40% profit margins. Like it's often like 10-20% if they're a successful business. So
that's awesome.
I want to put you on the spot a little bit, and you don't have to answer. But so me personally, I have a couples comedy content page with my girlfriend. We do quite well. We've built a decent following.
Very well.
How many followers do you guys have now? 800,000?
Almost at 800,000.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's
That's
done.
awesome, man.
It's done really well. And one thing we've been talking about, and the boys have helped me as well, trying to find a product. Now, I want to ask you first. I know we've talked about it a little bit, but what would I do to find the product? Do you have a product at the top of your head that you'd be like, all right, couple comedy, social media, how would I go about it? What kind of product would I look for? I guess how would I do it? Because I'm looking for a product.
Yeah, what I would do for you guys, obviously, like keep in mind kind of that product criteria that I kind of went through before. But what I would do for you guys, if it's going to be like a heavy organic content approach and you want to be able to utilize that as your main sales channel, I would make sure I'd look for something that's in alignment with the product that you guys would use in your day-to-day lives. Doesn't mean it has to be every day. It can be a product you use once a week, but something that you use frequently so you can tie it into all the content you're doing like organically a lot, and something that I would really try and do is a product that is going to have repeat purchases, because otherwise just say to one time, like this is the pros and cons to Happy Skin Co. It's a high value price point. We can sell like 3-4 units and we're already $1,000. So it was quite easy to scale in that sense, but it's a once-off purchase. So there's pros and cons. I'd be looking for something that it's something you can easily make content around. It's something that's incorporated in both of your daily lives, so you can really create a lot of content, and something that's going to be a repeat purchase. So anything like health and wellness related, anything consumable, supplements, something like that. You could do clothing and stuff as well, because that's like sort of repeat purchases. And it's like, you got to really find out like what's your thing. So it's like when you're creating an influencer led brand like that, I think it is more important. How I said like Happy Skin Co. I wasn't interested in beauty. If you're an influencer led brand, make it more tied to your real life and your real interest. It's going to make it so much easier to have success in that form.
Yeah. Okay.
Good point.
Cool.
So just tying back to everything we're speaking about, like obviously there's a lot of e-commerce brands out there. There's a lot of people that try e-commerce and they might do it for 2 years or 3 years or even less or more, and they fail. What do you think has made you so successful, where you've been able to grow an e-commerce brand to $40 million in 5 years versus someone else that's just started or has been going for a while that's just been failing? What was that one sort of secret ingredient that you implemented that made you successful?
Yeah, 2 things. One I already kind of touched on at the start is like the self-belief and visualization piece. Like, some people I say, that was really important to my success, and some people are like, that's woo, I don't believe in that stuff or whatever.
What do you actually do?
What do you actually do
break us
practically?
down,
Yeah.
like, what do you do with your visualization?
So the way I visualize, and this is just like, I didn't, read a book and this is how they talk. This is how I did it. And it's like the reason, like, how when you guys talk about your faith and like your relationship to Christ and everything, you don't say it, or I like, sort of believe this, or like, it because you've experienced it firsthand, and you can be like, this is exactly my experience. I've got no doubt. And you can talk from that perspective. Yeah. Same thing with me from visualization, bro. Like when I first came across the book, The Secret, and then I read that, I actually watched it on Netflix first. I was like, wow, like this kind of makes my whole life make sense. Then I read the book. Now it's like, it's a pretty general book. It's a really like simple introduction to the law of attraction and stuff. But then when I'm like, okay, the reason the time I read that book is when I was doing those like commutes to Chatswood. So it was when I was already starting to shift my mindset to business.
Let's be honest.
And yeah, it was the magic in the air of Chatswood, I reckon. So then I realized, okay, I'm going to do this consciously. I've always daydreamed, and I was daydreaming at the start about my goals. Now I'm going to consciously visualize me living out my goals. And the way I do it, let's just say, so one of the goals, and this is something I actually really like closely manifested something exact, right? It was like So my big influence for me was Gary Vee. So I watched so many times of him in his podcast, in his office doing podcasts there. And I visualized myself in his office, like shaking hands with him, having a chat with him, maybe doing a podcast with him, right? So the way I would visualize that, I'm a kid working a normal job, living at home with his parents. I'm so many steps away from that. What some people can do when they visualize, and I think this is what sets me apart, they will just visualize, like in Gary Vee's office, sitting down with him, they'll visualize that final moment. And that's great, right? But there are so many steps in between that, and I feel like you're missing out. So I would reverse engineer what that process looked like. So step one, I find a product and we launch, and then it's successful. I do $1 million. So I find the product. I fully live out. I visualize these moments in my head. And when I say I visualize, bro, like I'm time traveling. I'm telling you, I'm going into the future and I'm experiencing it. Like sometimes I have tears in my eyes. I will live out these moments.
You have to feel it.
You have to feel it. That's where the power is, right? So I'll do like, okay, I've launched the brand, and then I'll spend 50 minutes to an hour visualizing this. So I'm driving, I'm visualizing this.
Do you have the product already in your head, or it's just like a general, like I know I have a product?
Yeah. So the way I do this, so each step that I visualize getting closer and closer, it doesn't have to actually play out with that, like in that exact way in reality.
Of course.
But you living this out and seeing a path to it, one, it makes you believe so much more. The laws of the universe in terms of the energetics are like the way that you would pray, and like how if it's whoever's answering this call for you, it's happening. The world is a big mysterious place. The way like scientists and stuff want to be like, this is the laws of the universe and that's it. We know such a small percentage of like the power of the world and all the spiritual stuff and forces that go on, man. Like in whichever way you go in that, you can't argue that the world is just what they try and say it is on face value. So I'd visualize, having a successful product and launching day one. Okay, we sold like $5,000 worth. And then I visualized, okay, what's the next step? $1 million revenue. So then I'd spend like half an hour to an hour in my head visualizing the day. What did I wear? How did I get into the office? What ad? What influence did we work with that ticked over to that $1 million?
Your reaction.
That reaction. I'm living it. I'm
seeing
feeling it.
yeah.
I'm like getting G'd up. I'm getting excited. Okay, from
so
there.
Were you visualizing tactics as well, not just the end goal?
No, I was visualizing the whole day of a milestone.
Yeah, right.
Like the whole experience, getting
Waking
up,
up,
driving breakfast, the
checking
whole
your
thing.
phone, like
Living it, right?
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
it's like sometimes I'm like, no, I wasn't happy with how that detail played out. I'll rewind it in my head. I'll relive it until I'm like, it felt exactly right and how I wanted it to be.
Crazy.
And then it's like from there, okay, like you've got getting keys to our office and then warehouse. Then okay, starting to get invited onto podcasts. And let's say this is my first ever podcast.
You visualize you being here with us.
I'll visualize me being here with you guys. This is my first podcast. From there, that podcast blows up. I'm visualizing all these steps for legit an hour each. I'm living them out in my head. Wow. And I build up slowly to that moment where I'm in Gary Vee's office meeting him.
But you're actually executing, right?
I'm actually executing at the same time.
That's
I
right.
think a lot of people get stuck because I know obviously you're someone who can visualize but actually do it. I
Yes.
think there's a lot of people that can visualize
And that's it.
expect it to happen.
That's it. It's just
But it doesn't-
magically going to happen.
Yeah, what's your thoughts on that? Because
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of people that can just sit and dream, but like nothing happens without you actively doing it.
Yeah,
right? Taking steps to get there.
without a doubt. I'll get to that in a sec. But so I would do that each step of the way, and it's like for me to get to that point of like visualizing that moment in Gary Vee's office, right? It might take me 2 weeks to get there because I'm spending or a week or 2 weeks to get there because I'm spending like an hour a day visualizing. I don't move past the step until I've lived it out just right. I've soaked up all the feeling from that. So reverse engineer where you want to be, break it down into 5 to 10 sub milestones on the way there, live them out, the detail, what you're wearing, how you felt, who you were with, all those small details to build up all the little details of the reality for you to really buy in and believe it. And then it's like you do that, you experience that, and then you let it go. You trust, it's coming to you. But the thing is, it's like, with that point that you were mentioning about, okay, do you just visualize it or do you go out and do something? Now, there's two benefits to visualization, in my opinion. There's the sort of like the energetics of the universe and all that, like, Joe Dispenza sort of like quantum physics understanding of it, which is like, I can't really explain that to the detail he would, but there's all that. There's that, which I truly believe in the power of the energy and the power of your thoughts and your actions and your words to manifest and bring things to you. Like attracts like. What you put out, you get back. There's that whole thing, but there's also for the people that are like, I don't believe in that stuff. It's like, okay, Tell me this, if you wake up in the morning before you go into work and you are visualizing yourself and experiencing, you're time traveling, like I said, you dating that girl you've always dreamed of, you know, if you're an actor, winning that Oscar, you're doing all these things, you're experiencing yourself, living out your dreams, and you're experiencing it emotionally and you feel like you're there. Tell me how you're not going to wake up motivated to go on like, I just experienced this.
Yeah.
I don't want this for an hour in my head. I want this all day, every day in
amped.
reality. You're so amped. You're like, okay, I'm going to go do it. So you hit the work with so much self-belief, with so much passion, with so much energy, and it compounds that way. And the momentum you build on a physical level and like a spiritual, energetic level, it compounds. And it's like my life changed so much. I use that Gary Vee example because it's a real life thing. I went from not having a business, having less than $1,000 in my bank account in one day. We launched the business within 3 months. We had done $1 million. By the end of that year, we'd done $10 million. I remember we launched in April. There was about 3 months in. We'd already done really well. We made $1 million. Gary Vee came to Sydney to speak. We went, did the thing, took the photo with him on the like media wall, all that sort of stuff. And then their sales team calls me up and they go, "You want to do a dinner with Gary? It's like $6,000. I was like, nah. Like I'm not really like a celebrity sort of person.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't really, I'm like $6,000. I'm like, you know, I'm a kid from the area. Like
course,
it's not worth it.
Yeah.
But anyway, I ended up having so much success and like $6,000 ended up being nothing. So I remember out of nowhere, I got the thought, and where did it come from? Where was that divine intervention? What gave me that thought at that time to do this? Almost a year later, I'm like, dude, like I should have done it. Like it just would have been cool. Yeah. What I really like about life and what success looks like for me in terms of a happy life is like, I want to acquire experiences that not many people get to experience. Like I want to do the things that not many people get to do while I'm here. Cool. I think that's what really G's me up. So I'm like, I out of nowhere, whatever, like that divine intervention was to give me this thought to do it. I'm going to email the guy who called me last year about the Gary Vee thing. I'm like, hey, are you doing like bringing out Gary for a dinner this year? Like, if so, I'll do it.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. He goes, no, we're not doing that. But like really weird, like good timing, you hit us up. Gary's doing this thing he's never done. So Gary Vee doesn't do small group mentoring. He does his keynotes, pays $250,000 or $500,000 to go to a speech. And then like sometimes they have workshops at VaynerMedia where it's like he'll be involved for a couple of hours and then it's his team running things. But he's never done anything like this before and he's never done anything like this since. Now this was put on by like Success Resources. Actually someone you should maybe reach out. Michael Laney's now the head of Forbes Australia. Really cool guy, brought him out. He's doing this thing. He's going to spend 3 days with people in Sydney, 3 days with people in London, and 4 days with people in New York. You got to apply. There's like several different stages. But Gary Vee wants to see how he enjoys like this small group mentoring.
Well,
so I'm like, he's like, you keen to apply for that? I'm like, bro, 100%. So I put in like a written application form. It goes to the Success Resources team. If they approve you to the next stage, which they did, it goes to Gary Vee's team. They read your application. If they approve that, next step is you've got to do a phone call with Gary.
wow.
So imagine I'm sitting in my office. This is like, you know, not even a year after we'd launched the business. I remember it was about 10 a.m. my time. I get my phone rings and it's a New York area code. And I'm like, dude, I've listened to like probably thousands of hours of Gary Vee on his podcast. Answer it. He goes, yo, what up, Dylan? It's Gary Vee. And I'm just like,
That's crazy.
And I'm just like, that's already crazy in of
He's
itself,
just swearing at you on the phone.
Yeah, like he's exactly, and this is like, I've spent heaps of time with Gary. He's exactly what he's like in his videos at all times. You can record him at any point of the day and it's content. That's really the way he is.
That's mad.
So we had like a 10-minute chat. He heard like my age and it was E-Comm and it's like, he was like, dude, you have to be a part of this. Like, because when I got there, everyone else was so much older. They're in like bigger, sort of more boring industries.
Yeah.
So it's like, I understood why he want me there. So he's like, dude, like, I'll give you a spot. Come be a part of it. So it's like,
sick.
Did it cost you?
it did cost
How
me.
much did it cost?
I think it was like 20 grand per thing.
It was an investment, though.
It was an investment. But like for me, it's like
what was it?
per country.
Yeah, okay.
But like for like 12, 14 hours a day with Gary.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like this is access like money
priceless.
can't buy.
Yeah.
It was a small investment.
100%.
It was a small investment for me. And it's
More
like,
compared to 45 mil.
no, 100%. So then I remember, so it was the last day, and this is where it all hit me. It was the last day in New York City, right? This would have been about a year and a half after we launched the business, and it just hit me. The last day, we're sitting in Gary Vee's office. Like I've got the whole video, like in his office, shaking his hand, talking to him. I made that moment happen, and I realized in the space of 18 months, I went from a kid from Western Sydney that had no business, no money in his bank account, to sitting in like legit standing as close as we are, a meter away from Gary Vee, drinking his wine, cheersing to him in his office with like millions of dollars in my bank account from Western Sydney to New York City in less than a year and a half.
That's
because I saw it and I believed in it, and I put a plan in place and took action.
Yeah.
And then once you do those three things, you believe, you put the action in, and you put a plan to make it happen, dude, like the universe, the God, whatever you believe, it will do it for you. If you act in that way out of like truth and authenticity to yourself, dude, the universe will give you, or the God will give you whatever you want.
know
That's
you've done
inspiring, man. I love that story.
Really
I
do believe
know
it.
you've done $45 million.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah,
Love
yeah.
that.
Like,
So going on that, I know back to Jamie's question, we've gone into more so like the mindset and that kind of things. I'd love to touch on the other side and like some practical things. So obviously, as Jamie said, people start e-commerce every single day and fail.
Yeah.
You made a killing and you did it right. Was it, from your perspective, is it right time, right place, right thing? Was it actual planning strategy, like you ran the numbers, you ran the spreadsheets? Did you hire the right people? What do you think separates you, and what can people take away from your experience?
there are a few things. Definitely all of those would have been contributing factors. Like the first thing in terms of right time, right place, we probably couldn't have timed the product any better, to be honest with you. But there were other brands that started, like saw our success and copied us like 6 to 9 months after. Like it doesn't take long for these dupes to start copying people, and they haven't been like a quarter as successful as we have. So definitely good time, right? Like, you know, in terms of like looking at does it solve a problem? Is it oversaturated? It ticked all those boxes, right? But then it's like the way we're able to scale was e-com's all about testing. Like now the methods we used back then would be slightly different to what works now. You know, fast forward all these years, things are a little bit different, but it's all about testing and finding what works. So what we did at the start, like the first sale, the first day we were running Facebook ads, we were probably spending $50 a day, 11 o'clock at night, I jump in bed, just about to go to sleep, and I get a call from George. He goes, bro, we just got our first sale.
Hey, that's
Like,
the best.
that's the best. Like to Shopify cha-ching, I'm like, dude, that's crazy. Jumped in my car, drove over to his place. We cheers, we pop a bottle of champagne. We're like, dude,
bro,
that's it.
the
Like,
best.
it just proves the concept. It wasn't a friend, it wasn't family, it wasn't anyone we knew. Someone converted off an ad. We're like, dude, like this is it. This like backs up all our work, all that like belief that we knew it would happen. And what we used to do, we were working on the business for about 10 months in the background before we actually launched, from like idea to launch date. Every
10 months before you actually launched.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time. Well, safety, does it work? You know, is it effective? All those sorts of things for a product.
You want to do it properly, which is why it works.
Yeah, we had to do it properly, and like, you know, we pushed back our launch date. Like we wanted to originally launch in November and then December, and then ended up being April the next year. You just sometimes can't control these things if you want to do it right.
Yeah.
Quality is number one.
And then like what we were doing probably 2 nights a week after going out, like working at his house, go across the road to the park, and we just talk about all these things that were going to happen and all these milestones. We're going to do $1 million. We're going to have our own office and warehouse. It's going to be super successful. We're thinking it's going to take a year, 2 years to get to that sort of stage, right? Took a fraction of that, which we'll get to in a second. Second day, no sales, right? We're like, that's fine. We're spending $50 a day on ads. We knew like it's a completely new concept. Like people are used to doing laser in the clinic. We got to educate them. It's fine. Wednesday night, we have our first influencer post. Now, it was about 7:30 at night. I was just about to go to martial arts. I get another call from George. He's like, bro, we just got our second sale. I'm like, man, that's the best. I love it.
Champagne. Get the
We're on the tour.
champagne.
Yeah, legit. He's like, bro, I'm like, oh, sweet. Like, I've got to go to training. I'll come over after. We'll cheers again. While we're on the phone, cha-ching goes off again. That's our second sale. We're like, bro, 2 sales in like 5 minutes. Like, what's happening? And we're like, dude, like, I'm getting G'd up. I'm already amped. I'm like, all right, I really got to go now. I'm going to be late for training. Cha-ching goes off again. We're like, bro, what has just happened? Like 2-3 sales in that much time. What's happening?
Was this
So
after the influencer post?
This is right after the influencer
How soon
posted.
after? Are we talking minutes, seconds?
Minutes.
Yeah.
Minutes.
Yeah.
5 to 10 minutes after.
Yeah.
Like posts, like no one had seen these products promoted on social media before.
Yeah. And who was the influencer?
It was Davey Lloyd. He was on The Bachelor in Paradise.
How many followers did he have?
When we hit him up, he had 20,000
Davey
followers.
Lloyd.
Davey
Wow.
Lloyd, yeah.
And when he posted you about your product?
50,000.
So 50,000 followers on Instagram.
Yes.
And what was the post?
Dude, the funniest thing, he wasn't even holding the product. The product wasn't in the shot.
What?
It makes sense, like, because he had like he's a pretty hairy guy.
Yeah.
He had a photo from like completely bold chest. He had like a really funny caption. It's like, thank you to like Happy Skin Co from saving me from being a gorilla. Like this is how
that's
bold my
smart.
chest
That's
is.
super organic.
That's so
Dude.
smart.
Like then we're just cha-ching, again's going off. I'm like, dude, that's it. I'm not going to training. I'm coming over. Screw that. Like, get there, crack a bottle of champagne every 5 minutes. Cha-ching. We're like, hey, like we're high five.
How much did you pay this guy to do the post?
Nothing. We just gave him a product.
What?
Bro, that's what it used to be like.
Did he
back in
get
the day.
commission or nothing? Or?
Nothing. Nah.
Nothing.
So like,
There you
That was
go.
different.
the great.
Zero money down.
That's when for us it was great that we delayed it, because by the time we said we were going to launch, probably got pushed back about a month. For Bachelor in Paradise, they're on TV like 3-4 nights a week. So people are seeing these people. So he's grown like 30K in like a month. When we messaged him, we didn't even know he was going to be on the show. It wasn't even, so we just got lucky. We sent it to someone who was going to explode. So between like 7:30 and midnight, we'd made $5,000. By the time we wake up the next day, so that's like, bro, what's that like?
From one
25, 30 sales in one night.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then wake up the next morning, that's $7,500. So think about it. We put in
way.
$10,000 each. $20,000 total investment. We'd made $7,500, like essentially in like
Already.
the space of 12 hours. So I'm like, sweet. And this is where we capitalize. E-Comm's all about testing. We're lucky we found something that worked really quickly.
straight
So
away.
what do I do? You find something that works, you double down and you triple down on it. I DM'd and emailed every single person on that show. I'm like, dude, we just worked with
That's
Davey.
speed to execution.
Like that
That's what
day, like
separates
that
people.
day, I'm already emailing them that night when we're working, right? So I hit up everyone on the show. I probably work with, I reckon, 7 or 8 people from the show.
That's such a good lesson
That's
for people
so
out there.
smart,
If
bro.
you find something that works, do it as many,
Again and
like
again
10x
and again.
it. 10x it.
Like think the max you can do, 10x that, see if you can do
As well,
that.
and like you'd know, it's the same thing with content. A certain type of title, a certain type of thumbnail, it works while it works,
Again.
and then it doesn't.
Yes, yes,
Things
yes.
don't hang around. It might be a month, it
Marketers
might be
love to
6
copy.
months. You
Make
got to
the
go.
most of it. Make
You
the
have
most
to make
of
the
it.
most of it. So you know they must have been talking to each other, because the first one was free, the second one's $250, then like $400, got up to $600. But we're like paying these guys like a few $100, and they're bringing us back anywhere from like $2 to $10,000 each.
Wow.
So it starts adding up like really quickly. Gets to the point like we had 110 units to sell. It's an expensive product even for us to buy, so we couldn't go out and buy 500. We sold out like 10 of them was to send to influencers, 100 to sell. We sold out in the first like week, right? So we're like,
how much did you make in the first week?
oh, I've got the screenshots, bro. It would have to be like 30 grand or
30
something
grand
like
a
that.
week.
20,
One
30
of
grand.
selling.
Yeah, so we sold out, right? And we're like, what do we do here?
And how
Like,
much profit would you say that was?
that would have been pretty good, like probably 20 grand.
Whoa.
But it's like, it wasn't profit we're taking out. It's profit we're reinvesting and ordering more stock.
Of course.
You know what I mean? So because it's like, it was really good. So then it's like, what do we do? Do we go pre-sale? It's like, it's working so good now. We don't want to lose that momentum. So we kept it on. We did pre-sale for ages. We're sending people like, this is like how like green we were in E-Comm. We had these like sorry cards with like little love heart, like lollipops. We'd say, sorry, it's delayed. You know, like just over communicated to people, hey, it's taking time. But we knew they couldn't go to anyone else. They wanted this product.
Which makes them want it even more.
Exactly. So like, I reckon we only had to refund like 2-3% of people like, no, fuck this, I'm not waiting. So we managed that. We over communicated. We always told people when it was coming. It was a little bit sketchy, like selling products you didn't have for about 4 or 5 months. We couldn't keep up with demand.
Well, 4 or 5 months.
4 or 5 months until we had, because we were selling more than we could.
So it was like
Still
pre-order?
managed it.
It was pre-order. Yeah, we still
still
managed
managed
it. At the worst point, people were ordering like close to a month before they would get the product. Whoa. So it was a little bit sketchy, but we over communicated.
run it up.
If we had to run it up, we had to capitalize and like take the market share while we're the only one in the game.
Yeah,
Like you
of
find
course.
something that works, go down and you find a type of organic content that works, take that idea and make 10 different versions of that content.
Yeah,
That's the way you really get the most out of E-Comm. So
Yeah.
we did that. It took about, so like 3 months in, we'd already made $1 million. I got a new Audi, he got a new Mustang.
That's
Like,
crazy.
We had like a full-time staff, like a friend of mine who just I knew from like the area and like parties and stuff. She was working at a little E-Comm brand and was really unhappy. And I'm like, dude, come work with us. Like, here's what we'll pay you. And then she came along and Jo, she stayed with us for like, she was with us for probably like close to 4 years, man. She was an OG. So she did everything from like customer service to operations to like head of influencer marketing. We brought her in, and then like by the end of the second year, so George left after about the first year. By the end of the second year, I reckon we had like 15 staff spending like 10 grand a day on ads and like doing some serious numbers. And then it was the same thing. Influencers was like the first 6 months, really hard on influencers. Then Black Friday 2018, we were doing well with that. We were maybe spending $500 a day profitably, maybe $1,000 if we were lucky. But most of our sales were coming from like influencers. We'll find an influencer, find a group that
And what
works,
year was
go hit
this?
them all up.
What year was this?
2018.
2018 still. Wow.
2018 still. And then from the end of 2018, Black Friday, we found out how to
Should've hit me
scale
up.
Facebook. Oh no, there we go.
I've got no hair though, I'm Asian.
Found out how to scale Facebook ads. And from that point, once you've got like the initial foundations of a brand and you know the sort of content that works, you know the sort of like people you want in your content, you know your sort of messaging. Once you figure that out and you know the structure of how to scale an ad account, from that point on, it was like
it's
now we can
printing
just, it's
cash.
printing cash.
Amazing, bro. Amazing.
And then we launched our second version of our product, which we like own the patents to and everything, our Gen 2 handset. We launched that. We did a really expensive shoot. We spent 60 grand on like 3 different shoots with like a high level agency, like a really cool agency. One of the styles of shoots was like 3D rendered, molded, like it was really cool. Like I reckon off that one ad, one of those, we got 3 of those. One was like the stand-up performer. We would have made $3-4 million off one piece of
Wow.
creative.
That's
No way. So
crazy.
60K investment made 3 to 4 mil.
That's off one of the ads.
That's the
Of one of
power
the
of good
ads.
content,
yeah,
eh?
that's the power of
Bro.
good content.
Thanks.
That's
Looking at me like
insane.
I have good content.
That's
Yeah.
insane.
So it's like finding
that's
what
the
works,
power.
testing, and it's like you need to have a scaling mindset. You can't be afraid to lose it all or you'll build nothing.
I think what everyone at home is waiting for, and you kind of touched on it with the Audis.
I'm waiting for it.
But you made $40 million, which to some people,
Far
like,
out, bro.
you know, they can't even fathom how much money that is, or, you know, they think they couldn't spend that much money in their lifetime.
40 million.
What did
Well, that's
you
like,
do?
it's not $40 million profit.
Of course
Yeah,
not.
of course. But, you know, your business was worth, or
Yeah.
you're worth $40
it's,
million.
we've done, yeah.
It's a lot of money.
We've done well.
Yeah, you've done well. What did you do with the money? Like, how much of it did you reinvest? Did you, you know, you bought an Audi. Did you buy a Ferrari after that? Did you go buy property and you know, have a property portfolio? Like, what did you do with the money?
You spend it on girls.
Actually,
You spent it on girls. Did you blow it all?
in line with that, and you can say, if you don't want to say, that's fine, but in line with that, first question before you go into that is like, okay, you made 40 million revenue. The business, you got business partners, expenses. If you don't mind saying, how much did you actually get to pocket off that? Because people going into e-commerce
Yeah.
might think, okay, 40 million, I'm going to be a millionaire. But like what you actually put in your pocket,
Yeah,
you
it's
can
minimal.
give rough figures or whatever.
Yeah, in the first like 2 years alone, there would have been over $3 million pure.
Right,
pure
in your
profit.
pocket, right? Okay, so we can work off
Well, I
that.
had a business
3 mil.
partner, and then like when someone leaves a business, there's like
Yeah.
deals
Payouts
in
and stuff.
place,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you know what I mean.
Yep,
Like
yep.
had to purchase
Yeah.
back the equity, so a lot of it was reinvested.
Yeah.
But still, like in my bank account, like done quite well with that. Like I've got property in the city.
Yeah.
That's grown like 50% value since I've had
Amazing.
it.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Still,
that's
I'd
awesome.
probably still sit on too much cash in the bank.
Yeah.
But like, you know,
But
like,
it worked.
It
Because
worked.
you could have said like, you might have spent 20 mil in ad
Yeah.
spend to get to 40 mil. You
No,
know what I mean?
yeah.
Like
Shop-
there's
yeah,
there's
yeah.
levels. All right, and then off the back of that, the
Yeah,
question
did you
everyone's
go
waiting
on a
for.
shopping spree?
Yeah.
I did like I had a very small phase. Like I'm not.
This is what we want to hear.
I'm not. I reckon in terms of like bullshit stuff, I reckon the car was like, we bought like, it was like 70 grand cars. I wasn't like
Yeah, it
going and
wasn't
getting a
crazy.
Lambo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like it was like, you know, it was a massive upgrade
Yeah.
for me. Well, I actually had an Audi TT before that, so it wasn't like a crazy.
And what hour did you get?
I just got an Audi A7.
A7.
Nice.
Yeah, but it was
Nice.
super clean.
Yeah.
Like I just loved it, man. Like that sort of like just a
course.
vibe for
It's
me.
class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it's really cool. And then outside of that, I reckon I spent like legit like 10-15 grand on like bullshit stuff. That was it. Like
Okay.
Gucci
That's it.
shoes.
So
Well,
pretty- you're still conservative.
Pretty conservative.
I'm not materialistic like
And
that.
you bought a
as well.
property, obviously.
Bought a property, got cash in the bank, started other businesses, funded other projects as well.
Yep.
Like still have like some good like
Very mature.
So you didn't get all like carried away with the glitz
No,
and glamour.
I've never been like
That's
that.
awesome, bro.
Thankfully,
That's
like
amazing.
That's
I'm
really
still
good.
the same person. I'm still the same kid from the
You seem
area. I
humble,
need to
man.
try and like stop swearing a little bit as well. I'm
Nah,
trying,
you're good.
trying to be
That's why
aware
you're
of that.
sweet.
But I'm just the same, man. Like, and it's like I was wearing like, you know, Louis Vuitton or Gucci or Burberry, and then I look at my. It's not even what I like, man. Like, why am I doing that just to, you know? So it's like I
That was when you were
realized.
still trying to prove yourself.
I like-
It was
I like
just
your
what you
fit
do.
now.
It was
I like
just
your
what you
fit.
do. Yeah, like you can
it's
just
nice.
like dress like brands you like nothing
Yeah.
super like Nike Dunks, like Essential Hoodie, which
Yeah,
a few
yeah,
hundred
fresh.
bucks. Like
Yeah, that's great.
yeah,
Awesome,
just
bro.
dress clean in my style. I feel like finding your own sort of like when you know who you are and what you want to be and what your values are, what you want to project. You don't get lost in all those
You don't
things. But
need
so
it.
many
Amazing.
people as well, why I was able to not do that comes back down to that self-belief. I know who I am. In my opinion, like I'm the best. and I say that everyone should feel like you're the best and that you're special. Like people think to me like, you know, what did you know this was going to happen? No, I didn't know exactly this was going to happen. But back to when I was like my earliest memories of being 3, 4, 5 years old, I always knew I would do something special. That's why I always had dreams of like being the best like high paid lawyer or an actor or an entrepreneur or having podcasts and that, because I always knew I could do that. So I think like if you don't think you're special and if you don't think you're here to achieve amazing things, no one else will.
Awesome,
and
bro.
like thinking that you're special and you're really good doesn't mean you think you're better than other people as well. I want to make that clear.
There's nothing wrong with loving yourself and believing in yourself.
For sure.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's the
fear and
difference
best
between being cocky and confident.
But I tell you as well, like why I've always done well with girls, like above like my like say like looks to looks ratio, because like I've always been so confident. Like the sexiest thing is confidence.
And
like
We
Sean,
always talk about
we had
this.
a
so
an
it doesn't
episode.
matter. Like I just know like
amazing.
I value myself in a certain way. So it's like, and then like if you're authentically you and you're not trying to bullshit and put on this sort of persona,
Girls love
that
it,
is
bro.
the sexiest thing. It attracts people to you.
There you
See,
go.
guys,
That's some relationship advice as
100%.
well.
Free riz for the boys.
We had a whole episode on confidence, bro.
Many
It's
whole
the
episodes.
biggest
so
thing.
important, bro.
Yeah.
100%. And if you're confident enough to show up like as yourself fully authentically, your weird sense of humor, the way you speak, the way you dress, and you own that,
Yeah.
the people that aren't going to be like that see that for what you are and they're not interested, they were meant to be in your life anyway.
Yeah.
100%.
Right? But you really attract the people that are meant to be in your
100%.
life.
Yeah, I love it, bro. Well, I think that's perfect way to wrap it up. What we do with every guest is like
Yeah.
if there's 1, 2, even 3 things that you think people listening at home could implement right away. I know you've dropped a lot of amazing wisdom on visualization and business practices. Is there 3 super quick final takeaways that you think people can implement today, right now, that will help them get the ball rolling?
All right, let's think about it. 3 things that have changed my life. One thing I've done it for a few years, but this is the first year I've stuck to it from winter.
Yep.
Like, dude, cold showers every day, non-negotiable.
I did one
I do
this
them
morning.
every single day.
I don't do them
Non-negotiable.
often, but I did it this morning.
Every single day.
Funnily
But do you
enough.
go straight into the cold or you go warm first?
Warm first.
I go warm first because I still like to enjoy my showers.
me
You know what I mean?
too. Warm
But I'll go like 10 minutes hot and
It's
then like
the-
5 minutes cold at the end.
Awesome,
5
bro.
It's a
minutes.
long
I
shower.
go pretty long, like because
I
I
go
want to.
30, 60
What do you
seconds.
do?
Because
What do you do for the 10 minutes?
I'm just chilling, man. It's,
I don't
it's
think
me
you should.
time, bro. It's just me
We don't want
time,
to know what
baby.
he does.
Nah, I love a warm
Yeah.
shower,
Yeah.
man.
So yeah,
Cool.
like cold shower.
Right.
Like we think about, we're such a caffeinated society and like we're so like, you know, addicted to dopamine. It's like, dude, I have a cold shower.
Bro,
that's
you feel
worth
so
10
good.
coffees.
You
But
feel
like
so good.
not in like a scatterbrain way. You feel amazing. And now, you know, you hear people say that. And what I realized as well, like as I said, I've done them the last few summers. It's kind of easy to do them in summer. Doing them in winter, I realized like, to me, it's not that much different. You're freezing in summer, you're freezing in winter, but it's like the benefit that's given to my life, clean energy,
100%.
just crisp, ready to go, ready to action. Another thing, like I think like 100%, like one of them has to be like the visualization piece, but
Yeah.
like do it in the way, like try it the way I explained it. And the biggest thing I learned from that whole Gary Vee experience is like, you know, from Western Sydney, New York City in less than a year and a half, from $1,000 in my bank account to millions in my bank account in that short amount of time. Don't limit your dreams. Like I used to think, like used to see all these people that are living their dream life, right? You see all these people living your dream life and you think they've just won some sort of invisible lotto that I wasn't invited to be a part of and it's not for me. No, they were the same as you. It started as an idea, started as a dream. The only people that get to live their dreams are the people that actually try and make them happen.
Yeah.
You can't sit around and wait for these things to happen. So
Definitely.
Awesome,
don't put a limit on your dream. Crazy.
up,
You
bro.
combine that with the visualization,
Right.
mate, you'll do anything you want to do.
We can
a-
see it why you're so successful now. You're
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
multifaceted.
Multifaceted.
What an episode.
Wow. Perfect way to wrap
I
it
learned
up.
so much. And Dylan, last but not least, if the viewers want to find you or if you've got something that you want to, you know, promote or talk about real quick, where can they?
For sure.
access you?
Best place to find me is just on Instagram, just Dylan Mullan. Like everything's there. Like the podcast.
Tag it
Jamie-
in the description.
Yeah,
We'll tag
Jamie's
you,
been on
yeah.
the podcast. It's called Life, Money and Love. I may rebrand the name of it in the future. It just doesn't feel fully in alignment with me, but like heaps of great episodes. It's been doing really well recently. Then like if you're like thinking about getting into E-Comm and you want like a mentor into sport to actually be alongside you, like find me on like Instagram, hit me up. I'll have a chat with you there when I'm doing an intake. But like really exciting. It's called Viral Brand Builder, but it's like a lot of like
nice name.
really crazy win. Like people doing like 6 figures a month.
Yeah, and
Wow.
stay
6
tuned
figures
for
a
some
month.
stuff that Dylan and I will be doing
Yes,
together
we'll be
as
doing a lot more together
We'll be
soon.
doing
So
some
it's
stuff,
exciting,
so-
exciting
Nice,
times.
bro.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks,
Amazing
boys.
chat.
That was
Really
great,
appreciate
eh?
it. And yeah, if you guys want to find us as well, we're on every single social media platform: YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Music, under the Locker Room Chat podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed this. See you
Thank
next
you.
time.